Welcome back to my channel for a Leica SL3-P episode. And this is the newest family member. Here you can see it, Leica SL3-P in the Leica SL lineup. And I posted my introductory video for this camera already. I also posted already my long exposure and dynamic range consideration, which I typically do when I get a brand new camera. And in this video now, I want to actually get prepared for an autofocus testing with my photo model Stephanie, because she will come to the studio in the afternoon. I think she will be here around 2 p.m. She will stay for 4 hours. We have a couple of other things to play through and work together. And I think I take you with me setting up this camera for fast autofocus tracking, people photography, all of that, because that's what this new camera is standing for. The resolution is sitting with 44, let's call it 45 megapixel between the SL3S and the SL3 with 60 megapixel. And it's basically built for fast autofocus and autofocus tracking. And I thought you might be interested how I set this up. So I do this live record what I'm doing on the camera. I have reset the camera so I can show you everything from scratch, and hopefully this will be a useful tutorial for you. Let's kick this off. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. Many thanks for that. All right, Leica SL3-P. In my introductory video, I actually headlined the video as likely the best Leica system camera. And I still have to prove that, right? I had a very strong gut feeling, and my first shootings with this camera went just very well. I think the resolution 44 megapixel, well, I should finally decide whether I call it 44 or 45. Let's say it's, if you look into Lightroom Classic, I think it's closer to 45. So let's call this from now on a 45 megapixel sensor in the SL3-P. And I think the resolution is plenty. It's the same resolution as what you have in a Nikon C9, a Nikon C8. You also have a pixel shift multi-shot option if you have a still scene and no moving subjects. And I think the resolution is plenty for any professional photographic application you might have in mind. And now in this video, let me show you how to set this up for people photography. And first of all, what I did here is, of course, I freshly charged the battery. So this is a freshly charged battery here. And I have hopefully enough power to do an extended shooting with Stephanie. Then in terms of cards, make sure you have fast cards. I have here on the Compact Flash Express Type B card, a card from OWC. This is a brand which Gültenrath, the managing director, Leica Switzerland, recommended to me, I think last year. And since then, I'm in love with these cards when it comes to Compact Flash Express Type B. It's a 2 terabyte card, and read speed is 3.65K megabyte per second, and writing speed is 3000 megabyte per second. So this is definitely fast enough, but I show you in the settings in a moment what I do to make sure I have enough buffer for quick shootings in burst mode. On the SD card side, I unfortunately here in the studio ran out of my beloved Sony TUF cards. So I had to go here to a card I had available, and this is a SanDisk Extreme Pro. But the read-write speed, the transfer rates are the same as on the Sony TUF cards. It's 300 megabyte on the read side and the write side. And capacity is 512 gigabyte. So I think this is plenty of space, because I will set up the camera in a way that every RAW file ends up on the Compact Flash Express Type B and the SD card. So I always have a spare image if something goes wrong with one of the cards. In particular for wedding photographers, this is my recommendation on Leica SL cameras. The lens I've mounted is my Aposummicron SL. I'll show you quickly. And it's the Aposummicron SL. Widest open is an f2.0. We'll test this intensely when we test autofocus. I will shoot most of the images widest open, and it's a 50 millimeter focal length. So ideal for people photography. And I think it will be a lot of fun shooting that prime lens here on the Leica SL3-P. So we have a really good lens. We have a really good camera. I come to newest firmware in a moment. And now let's switch this on. And let's start to set it up for people photography and fast autofocus tracking. You see the startup animation here for the SL3P. I always like that. Is love for detail what Leica is showing us here. And on language, I go to English. I will not at this point in time connect it with the Leica Photos app, so I skip it. I confirm that I want to skip it. And now we have to get in the date, the time zone, and whether we have daylight saving time. On time zone, I'm good because I'm sitting here in my studio in Switzerland. That's the same time zone as Berlin. And of course, they have Wetzlar here, which is the German time zone where the headquarters of Leica is sitting. We have daylight saving time because we are at the end of June. The date we have here, it's interesting. Look, it starts at 1st of January 2025. I wouldn't have expected that. And we have here day, month, year. That's actually fine for me. So I confirm this. And then we have today, June 30. So the last day of June. Let's go here. Let's go here to June. And let's go here to 2026. And let's go here to 30. I was one step too fast. And here we go, 30 June 2026. We confirm this. And now we can already go back here. And we need the time. The time is currently 11:34 because I'm preparing before Stephanie comes. I always prepare my shootings with high diligence. And the current time here, let's go here to 11. And then we have by now 35. Let's go here. Here we go. Confirm. That's it. Now half pressing the shutter button takes me into live view. And I keep the lens cap on so I can show you the settings I'm doing here. I've mounted the Leica SL3-P now on my Flex Tilt Prime. I have a video about this gadget, which is a perfect tabletop tripod. And I want to also make sure I set this up consistently with the setup of my Leica SL3 reporter. There is nothing worse than having two exactly looking camera bodies and setting it up in a different way, because you will always get confused. In the heat of a shooting, you want to have a smooth workflow if you want to change any settings. And here we focus, of course, only on people photography, and we'll use autofocus, continuous, of course, will use human subject recognition, tracking, and all of that. And I want to have this particular workflow for people photography set up in exactly the same way as I have it on my Leica SL3 reporter. All right, let's get this up and running. And we have two customizable function buttons here at the top. You know that from my various tutorials. What I want to do now is setting up the first button in a way that it actually reflects the function I assigned to this button for my Leica SL3 reporter. So I press and hold, then I get the menu. And what I want to have here is drive mode, because that is essential for me to have very quick access. Let's go up here. It should be here. And now we have here drive mode. Have a look. If I press here, I get the drive mode. That is what I want to have on the first button. On the second button on the left-hand side of the one we just customized, I want to have focus mode. So I press and hold, and we go here down to focus mode. Here we go. And now if I press it, I have here the focus mode. And of course, for people photography, will go then in AFC for autofocus continuous. On this customizable function button here, I want to have the display representation toggle switch. So whenever I press this button, I want to decide how much information is displayed here in terms of image overlays on the LCD screen. And I press and hold that. And then I think it's at the very top. Let me quickly go there. And here we go, toggle info levels. And now if I press this, I toggle through different image overlays. The FN button, I want to set up to bring back the focus field to the center of the frame. And currently that's also toggling through image overlays and display representation. So we press and hold. And then we go down here and we go to toggle focus point. Now, if I'm somewhere off with my focus field here, I just press that button and it sends the focus field back to the center. Have a look again. Very simple. In this way, I can always get a fresh start and tracking a subject, for instance, from the center. Play button and menu button cannot be customized. They will always show the images which are on the card. In this case, you see I did a night shooting here. And here we have always the control screen. And then if we keep pressing it, we go through the different menu pages here. So that is something I cannot customize, but what I can customize is the behavior of the joystick. And customizing the joystick function, I cannot do by press and hold. Here I can press and hold, then I get the choice of functions I can assign to the FN button. Here, if I press and hold, nothing happens. I personally find this inconsistent. I think Leica should not hide the function assigned to a press or push of the joystick in the menu, but that's the way it currently is. Let's go there. We go to customize control, and then we see here the joystick. And now we have two different cams here, behavior in autofocus mode and behavior in manual focus mode. And in manual focus mode, I'm comfortable with AFS. And here I actually do not want to have autofocus lock, but auto exposure lock. So I can basically meter light at a different point in the scene and then recompose the image. And that's what I want here. So we basically choose here auto exposure lock, go back, and now it's customized. There are two more function buttons I can customize for quick access. And what I definitely need on the two buttons at the front side, there is a lower button and an upper button. On the lower button, I want to have autofocus mode. So let's press and hold. And let's go here to autofocus mode. Now, if I press this button, you see I can go here from field spot to zone multi-field and to tracking. We go to tracking later, but we come to that. And then I have the upper button on the front side and press and hold. I want to go here to metering. That's here, exposure metering. And now if I press this, I can very quickly switch, for instance, from center weighted to spot metering. And that concludes the customization of buttons. Now let's quickly talk about control wheels. The easiest one of the three is, in my opinion, this one here on the left top side, because that is set up out of box to ISO settings. And that is definitely what I want to keep, because quick access to ISO is essential for all of my shootings. The operation of this top side control wheel here when it comes to ISO is a bit tricky and a bit confusing for beginners. Let me quickly show you how this works. If I turn here, you see auto ISO popping up. If I want to go and it vanishes after a couple of seconds, I can change here with the rear control wheel into fixed ISO. And then I can control here my ISO. You see here 125 now, 200, I'm going to 400, another full stop, then going to 800, another full stop, and so on. If I ever want to go back into auto ISO with this control wheel, what do? Well, I turn it down to the lowest ISO value I can choose here, give it one more turn, and then fixed ISO appears again, and I use the rear control wheel to switch back into auto ISO. Did you see how easy this works? But you need to get used to it. It is kind of a double functionality where you combine these two wheels. Let's do this again. Auto ISO. Let's go here in auto ISO. Let's switch to fixed ISO. Let's quickly go here and change ISO settings. You see this here updating live in the LCD display. Then I go to an ISO of 50. One more turn brings up this menu choice and I'm back in auto ISO. Simple like that. Just wanted to show it because that might be an operation on the camera body which can easily confuse beginners in the Leica SL world. Now on these two wheels here, it depends what function I want to have depending on what exposure mode I have. If I'm in aperture priority, I want to basically control on both wheels the aperture, and the shutter speed is chosen by the camera automatically. If I'm in shutter speed priority, I want to have on both wheels the shutter speed, and then the aperture is chosen automatically by the camera. And that's the way I set this up on my Leica SL3 reporter. If I'm in manual shooting mode, manual exposure mode, I want to have here the aperture and here the shutter speed. So let me quickly show you how this works. You go to customize control again, and then you go to the dials. And I'm only concerned here about autofocus lenses at this point in time for this quick tutorial, because I shoot with an Apu Summicron SL 50mm f2.0. So we go in here, and then I get here the exposure mode. I do not bother about program mode because that is something I never use, but aperture priority mode, I want to control on the thumb wheel, that's the rear control wheel, the aperture. And I want on the right top dial, I also want the aperture. So I never get confused. If I'm just quickly changing aperture, I can do it on both wheels. And I explained in my video back then, setting up the Leica SL3 reporter, why this is for me the most convenient choice. And on the left dial, of course, that's the upper dial here, we leave the ISO setting in the way I demonstrated before. And let's do now the same. I should not have left the menu. Let's go back here into autofocus lenses. In shutter speed priority, we want to have on the thumb wheel the shutter speed. And we want to have the shutter speed also on the right dial on the top side of the camera. In this way, I never mix it up. I never get confused. Both wheels steer my shutter speed in shutter speed priority exposure mode. And now we go back into manual mode. And this is here. And then I want to have on the thumb wheel the aperture, on the right dial at the top side of the camera, the shutter speed. And I'm already set up in totally consistent ways to what I have on my Leica SL3 reporter. Next, let's quickly set up the soft buttons, also for quick access of functions. And here I think I'm fine and consistent with my SL3. I want to have exposure mode on that very first soft buttons. You see we have here 4 in the first row, 4 in the next row. AFC, I already have set up to a customizable function button. So I want to change that. I press and hold. And I want to go here into user profiles, because that is also something I switch very quickly. And you see now I can change here user profiles. Currently, they are not set up yet on this brand new camera. On the next setting, I want to have a switch between mechanical shutter and electronic shutter. So let's tap and hold. And I think shutter is somewhere below. Let's try to go there, shutter type. And you see, this is out of box on hybrid. My recommendation is never leave it on hybrid. You want to control whether you shoot with mechanical shutter or electronic shutter. Of course, in electronic shutter mode, you can be, I think, on the shutter speed side faster, but you want to be in charge. You want to be in control. And hybrid can, for instance, generate a situation where you actually shoot and you're not aware that you're shooting all of a sudden in electronic shutter mode, and then you might have some rolling shutter effects in the image. We don't want that. So we changed this here, first of all, for my shooting with Stephanie to mechanical, but we never put it on hybrid. If we want to go to electronic shutter, we do it consciously, but not let the camera decide. So here I go to mechanical shutter. Here we have file format. And now we have this currently on large JPEG and large DNG, but we can scroll here to all possible combinations. I've shown this in a couple of tutorials on Leica SL3 and Leica Q cameras already. And here I want to have the aspect ratio. Let's see where this is. I think we are here, aspect ratio. So if I tap here now, I can go to all kinds of aspect ratios. This is, for instance, a medium format aspect ratio, like we would have it in a Hasselblad X2D Mark II or Fuji GFX camera 4:3. I leave it for the time being on 3:2 because that is the native aspect ratio of the sensor. And here I want to have the Leica Lux. Let's see where this is. Here we go. Conveniently just on standby here for me. And here I want to have perspective control. And I don't know where this is. We have to scroll a little bit. Here we go, perspective control. And then the last one I did not yet customize is this one here. And it's currently set to the autofocus detection. And that's actually what I want to have here, because if we go quickly through all the buttons, right hand side top, we have drive mode. That's good. I need this. Here we have focus mode, and this will be in autofocus continuous for my shooting with Stephanie. Here on the front side buttons, we control the autofocus mode, and this is on tracking then for people photography. And on the upper button, we have the exposure metering. Here we toggle through display representations, and this is also good to have. Here we center back the focus field. Look at that. And these are all the buttons we have. What's missing is what I actually find out of box here in this soft button in the upper right hand side corner, and that's the detection mode. And here this will be, of course, on very likely on eye and face with Stephanie. So we're good to go. What I want to do now, last but not least, going through quickly the menu entries and see what I missed so far and what else we need to set up, and then we are good to go. And in a subsequent video, I will show you my fully fledged autofocus testing in people photography, because this afternoon I have the pleasure to shoot my photo model Stephanie, and we will test all kinds of harsh movements in the scene if the autofocus in this camera is sticky and delivers good footage. All right, let's do a very quick walk through the menu. And the control screen is now customized in the way I want it. That's fine. Focus mode AFC is good. Tracking here is good. Human eye face is good. Focus settings, we have here I think here we actually don't have to do something. That's for the time being fine, but the pre-focus might be very essential, so I leave that on. Focus 8, focus assist lamp is fine. Auto magnification is fine. Touch autofocus, I need to deactivate. That always irritates me. I'm not a touch person. You guys know that. Let's go to the next page. Manual focus throw, we don't need that. So here we are fine on the focus settings, I think. Exposure metering, I will go to center weighted for the beginning and then see how the light conditions are outside. Then we have ISO settings. Auto ISO we can tweak. On this camera, we can easily go to 12,500 or even 25,000. I leave it at 12,500. Shutter speed limit, we keep on auto. Well, maybe not. Maybe we go here to 1/250 seconds. Maybe, yeah, I think that's good. And flash, we are not concerned at this point in time. Floating ISO, I deactivate. I never use that. And ISO increment 1/3 is fine. EV increment is fine. Drive mode, we go to continuous shooting. And we go, of course, to the fastest we can get. Let's see, we have here 14-bit. Everywhere autofocus is available. And I think I want to have here I have only 12-bit, but let's go for speed. You know, who the heck cares whether we have 14-bit or 12-bit if we do people photography? So let's go to 40 frames per second and let's get the full Monty. We have full autofocus support here. This is one of the big new features, the big advantages of the Leica SL3-P over the standard Leica SL3. Interval shooting, we don't need multi-shot. This is all deactivated, of course. So we stay here in 40 frames per second. And let's go out here. Self-timer is grayed out, of course. Auto white balance is fine. File format, I want to go to LDNG only. Why am I doing this? Very often I use also LJPEG for quick preview on the MacBook, but that is not necessary here. And I think we might gain a bit of speed and use a bit less buffer if the camera has not to store both files all the time, the large DNG and the large JPEG. So we also don't need any JPEG settings here. Leica look standard is fine. Long exposures we are not going to shoot today. So this is fine. Sensor format 35mm is fine. Stabilization we leave on, but will have fast shutter speed of at least 1/250 seconds. Aspect ratio we keep. Flash settings we don't bother. Capture resistance, that is something I need to customize separately. We don't need it for that shooting. Storage management, that is very good. First of all, we could format now the cards. I'm not doing it because there is still footage on it. And what I want to have here is, of course, I want to have here DNG and JPEGs on both Compact Flash Express Type B and SD card. But we should not bother here because we have DNG only anyway. But I want to have the DNG, of course, on both. I want to have the equal sign here. Compact Flash Express equals SD card, both cards in full sync function. Let's go back here. Edit file name, we don't need this here. And then auto review, I think that's useful. Let's set this up to permanent. So whenever I look at an image, if I like it, and then half press the shutter button, I get back into live view. And then group display mode is good. Live view settings, we don't need at this point in time. I think it is fine the way it is set up. USB settings, just to be complete, let's have a quick look. USB charging is activated. Important for me, I charge the camera here via the USB-C port, and then we are good to go here. User profiles not set up yet. Camera settings, this is all fine. Power saving, auto power off, I deactivate. I hate it if the camera switches off without my command before. And then here, displays off, I also deactivate. The power button LED I leave on. That's fine. Nothing else here I think I need to do. And then camera information, yes, that I wanted to show. Be aware, at this point in time when I'm filming this, we are in camera firmware version 4.2.1. So I think there were already 2 releases of firmware for this brand new camera, which means that the Leica software engineers are busy improving the functions, giving us new features, and also removing bugs in the firmware. So 4.2.1 is what we need here. And I think on the lens firmware version, we are fine. That should be okay. And that's it. You know, let's go back here. Leica content credentials. Yes, that is a new feature. We have now here is not there in the Leica SL3. And I think we want to sign our content. We want to fill in here my name, which is math photographer. Let's quickly do that. Math, P-H-O-T-O-G-R-A-P-H-E-R. We confirm this. We do also produce by here as math photographer. See, I made a mistake. I have fat fingers. I'm not good in touch functionality. That's why I deactivate it all the time. Photographer. Good. So my footage is signed and it is protected. Not that this will be breathtakingly good images. You know, this is about autofocus testing, but I have to set up this anyway. And I think that's it. That's what we do. Now, what I will do later, I will, after the shooting with Stephanie, likely in the evening or tomorrow morning, I will make sure I fully customize the camera, because now it's set up for a particular shooting situation, namely for people photography and autofocus testing. What I need to do is, of course, I need to customize this for other shooting situations. And then, of course, I will go here, I show you quickly, into the user profiles and will establish several profiles for several shooting situations in the way I showed it a couple of times on the channel. And then the camera is fully mine. The workflow will be smooth. It's consistent with what I have on the Leica SL3, and there will never be any confusion. And for this video, that's it. I think it's longer than I expected at first sight, and I really will enjoy now my shooting with Stephanie. You will hear from me very soon. I will post after posting this tutorial here, quick tutorial I should say. I will post the results from my autofocus testing and shooting Stephanie, so you will also get clear impressions. How much more is this camera now capable compared to the SL3, for instance, or maybe even superior to an SL3S when it comes to subject detection, autofocus continuous, tracking, and burst mode. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.